Before we begin today's show, I would like to take some time to remind you about our sponsors. Fantasy Grounds, our virtual tabletop of choice. All of the beautiful maps and roles you see tonight are done using Fantasy Grounds, which you can try for free at fantasygrounds.com. You can also get all of your miniatures from Wayland Games. Go to waylandgames.co.uk and get yourself a huge range of D&D, Warhammer and 40k minis for up to 20% off regular retail price. And Tabletop Loot, who sell incredible dice. Go and check them out at tabletoploot.com.
Hello everybody and welcome to Encounter Roleplay. My name is Will, I'm a D&D sex icon, and we're back today for the first episode of what is going to be our session 0 of Fall of London. We're playing Vampire Masquerade 5th edition, and we are very excited to be here. I have a newborn pup in my arms. I'm doing everything with... she's asleep right now. Her name is Olive. Say hey to the stream, everybody. She's going to be asleep for the most part, and so I'm going to be doing everything one-handed while she rests on my hand and bites on my headphones. So, but we do have the rest of the cast and crew here today. All of us aside from Laugh Love Lindy, who's going to be joining us next week for our first actual session. But let's go around and meet the cast and crew, see how we're all doing today. Today's session 0, we're going to be talking about characters and building out the world and the relationship map together. So let's start over on my right with Mr. Fall of Cthulhu. How's it going, my friend? What's new with you?
Yeah, good. I'm really happy to not be wearing bandages this session. I regret that choice now, but you know, life goes on. Yeah, looking forward to this. Should be really fun. This is one of my favorite role-playing systems, so can't wait to get into it.
Fantastic.
Do you want me to tell you about the character now? I can do that.
We'll come back around for the characters
Okay.
in a minute. We'll come back around once we're situated. We have Jess with us today. How is it going, Jess?
Hi, it's going well. Not at all nervous to be playing this game for the first time ever. It's totally fine.
It's all right. You've got easily the most powerful class, so you're fine.
Oh, really? See, that was by accident.
By a long,
sweet.
long way. It's you, and then there's everyone else over here, and then there's like Toreador.
I just thought it was neat sounding,
Hey.
so success. I am pleased. But yeah, very excited to be here and playing vampires for the first time ever. Ready to bite down on some things, I guess.
Yes, let's sink our teeth into some Amelia Tyler. Amelia, how you doing?
I'm all right. I'm good. Yeah, I was being on a Game of Thrones theme show here on Encounter last night, so it's going to be really fun to play something a little bit different. Maybe similar character specialities, because I wanted a little bit of a challenge to make those two things very different personality-wise, but let's see how it goes.
Fantastic stuff. I love it. And of course, we have Pro Restarter with us. How's it going, Pro? Good to see you.
Yeah. Hey, yeah, doing good. Glad to be back and jumping into Vampire Masquerade. It's been too long since I've been playing, since I played this, so I'm excited. Yeah, I'm Pro Restarter, all the other stuff. I'm hyped to be here and sink my teeth into this game. I'm done.
I feel like we need some sort of like moratorium on these fucking vampire puns, because 4 in like a minute and a half is too fucking many, and we've still got fucking Panda to go.
I know. Oh, God.
And to crank it up, do more puns.
For a blissful moment, I had forgotten about. Last but not least, Gareth, how are you?
Bloody hell, will these never end? Okay, I'm done. That's about as
You're
far
a
as
piece
they
of
come.
shit.
I'm feeling good. It's good to be back. New people to play with. And this system's cool. It's weird. It's a modern setting. So I think we're going to have some fun. And also, congratulations on becoming a father, Will.
Thank you. It's about time. Well, we're going to jump into it today, but before I do, I remind you guys that we're sponsored today by Modifius Entertainment. If you want to check out Vampire the Masquerade, maybe you've played previous editions of Vampire the Masquerade, or maybe you're new to it and want to check it out, and that's why you're here. We are going to be going over some of the rules and stuff today, so you'll learn about that. And of course, throughout the whole season, we're going to be playing Vampire, so you'll get to see how it actually works and how it how it pans out. And of course, we're playing the adventure book called Fall of London. We're in 2012, and these guys are cultists in London, and there's a whole lot of vampire shenanigans going on in one of the craziest cities in the world you can imagine. There's a ton of vampires crawling around London. Really, all you have to do if you're in England is just turn on the news and you can see that. But check it out, !FOL. That will take you to Fall of London over on the website. So go and check it out, and we'll be running some ads and stuff throughout the course of the show and the season. But before we do any of that, before we get into today's session, before we start talking about our characters, I'll tell you is the sort of the synopsis, if you will, to Fall of London about what we're doing. So this is the intro. The year is 2012 CE. Mithras, ancient, unfathomable, and a god among kindred, has just awoken from torpor in the body of his would-be diablerist Montgomery Coven. Now, with the aid of his lover and confidant, Roger de Camden, he awakens 5 Heralds of the Sun to reclaim artifacts of power which can restore the Methuselah to his full glory. As the Heralds, the coterie central to this chronicle, get to work, they find another threat also arises. The Second Inquisition has taken hold in London under the name Operation Antigen. Amid all this, the coterie must reconcile their compulsion to obey and worship Mithras with reemerging memories painting the ancient in a far darker shadow. When the dust settles, London as kindred know it will be no more. Ooh, spooky. Oh, that really freaked out Doggo. I'm sorry, pup. But that is the intro to Fall of London, and that's what we're going to be starting off today. But let's go round, first of all. Let's just get a little bit about our characters. Give us, which sort of clan you're from, which predator type you're playing, if you decided on all of that. And just a little bit of flavor about your character. So let's start with Adam, who's going to be playing Jacob. Tell us more, Jacob.
Yeah, so I'm going to play a Nosferatu. They never get any love in these campaigns. Nobody wants to be ugly. And I'm going to be a Sandman, which is predator type. That means you only feed off sleeping people. So my character's a lot of breaking in and not messing with the sleeping bodies before feeding on them.
Interesting.
Of course, that's messing with the body quite a lot at that point.
Right. Yeah.
But I'm not going to finger anyone or anything. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Well, that's
right.
Reassuring.
So very small step up.
Yeah, it's baby steps from here. Okay. Jess, tell us a little bit about your character, if you would.
Okay, yeah, I was Embrace. Sorry, Jess. Sorry, no, carry on.
Yeah, no, we'll go around quickly. We'll come back.
No, yes.
Yeah, no worries. I'm playing Rahat Nahima, and she is a Tremere, which is apparently the strongest type, which, luckily that's balanced out by the fact that I've never played this before, so that worked out. And I also am Sandman Predator type, because who wants their food fighting with them? Well, that's no fun. Just make it easy.
Cool stuff. Fantastic. Amelia, give us the snapshot of your character, if you'd be so kind.
Okay, yeah, I am also playing this for the first time, so everything will be fine. I'm playing Lillian Whitlock, who is an ice queen, former prostitute and madame, very much into the discipline side of madaming and prostituting, rather than the traditional simpering, happy to see you prostitute. She's a toreador, so she makes an art of that, and she's a consensualist, which kind of feeds in on the whole dominatrix side of her. So she's very manipulative. She likes to make somebody beg before she'll even feed from them, and enjoys playing around with that whole side of psychology.
Lillian is starting to remind me the more we talk about her, about your character from Tentacle Tuesday last season.
Right at the
towards
end.
the end.
Yeah.
Yeah, right at the end.
Yeah, I was just like, oh, this is fun. Let's see where that could go.
It's old school to right. It's all about the sex dungeons.
I
Fantastic.
found my niche.
yeah, that's it. Always typecast, man.
Alarming.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a tight fit, but
right.
Thanks, babe.
oh, I don't get
Pro-
anything. But like shit vampire puns is like Dirk Yor, and I make hilarious double entendres to do with being a dominatrix, and like nothing.
Spanks a lot, Adam.
Fucking
Hilarious
people.
is objective, but pro buddy, tell us about your character.
I play Takat Menhet. Takat Etet Menhet, rather. They are the oldest in the group, dating back to a very, very long time that we're going to get into. They are a Fenshrew, definitely going more of the ruler, self-assured kind of aspect, not very persuasive. Not totally a dick as well, but they know their power. And they're kind of looking to this cult for a new beginning, more ways than one.
Interesting stuff. And last but most least, Gareth, who are you going to be playing this time around?
I'm going to be playing Sir Quinn, who is a former knight turned bruiser. He has got mixed up in a kind of secret bodyguardish society which have popped up through history, and we're going to find out how he has hooked up with this group, and also an alley cat. So none of this sleeping rubbish. Let's go and tackle someone in an alley. I regret saying that immediately.
Well, that is cool. So that's a brief snapshot of our characters, but we're going to get to know them a whole lot better throughout the course of the season, but today in particular, because what we want to do is get to know how you guys know each other. So the premise of Fall of London is that at some point you guys joined this cult of Mithras. Mithras being a legendary vampire who was about during the Roman times when Britain was sort of being settled, and started a whole lot of vampire culture, if you will, here in London. And maybe if you think of it this way, if you're a vampire, suddenly made London the city that it was. These guys joined at a certain point at one of the cults of Mithras, sort of coteries of vampires, independent of one another, who believe, worship, and draw power and influence from Mithras. And at a certain point in time, in I think we said we agreed together around the 1940s or so, they entered into a torpor because Mithras asked them to, essentially. And to be called upon when the hour was nigh, when Mithras needed them the most. And so whether this was because, hey, free torpor, we love a bit of torpor, or maybe it's because you slavishly believed Mithras, or any other million reasons why vampires might do things, you can decide. You entered into this torpor, and you're going to be waking up in 2012 London. The world's going to be a whole lot different. Things have changed, certainly, from last time you remember them, but also things have changed a whole lot since some of you were sort of first born into existence as vampires, and indeed as humans as well. So I want to go around, first of all, and talk about why you joined this cult of Mithras, and also that kind of ties into how did you end up in London in the sort of 1940s or so. How did you come to England, and why would you have joined this cult? We talked a little bit about this we had a little pre-session, but I want to see if any of you guys had some more sort of fleshed out thoughts and ideas. So we'll go back around in reverse order this time. So Gareth, what was Sir Quinn's story about joining this cult?
So Quinn has, ever since he was turned, there's this kind of sect of his sire who've been responsible for bodyguard work, protection work, and they pop up all around the world when called upon. often during times of big strife or turmoil, and then when they're not needed, all of this particular group are put into torpor, left to rest until they're called upon again. So in terms of how he got to London, I imagine 1940s London is a particular time of strife. So his group was potentially woken up, ready to deal with whatever was going on, whether there were some high-profile clients that were being looked after. But I imagine Sir Quinn, whoever his was in control of him at this point, his sire has gone missing, maybe controlling things from the shadows, but hasn't been seen for quite a while. But there is a message that said that he needed to go into torpor with this particular group, and orders will be given when required, which is nothing strange to what he's had before. It's kind of an ask no questions job. Just get on with it.
Okay, cool. So sire maybe gone missing. You're just following orders, as it were, because you've sort of been inculcated into this cult for
I imagine England is home. He's a former English knight. He would have been. He's been on the Crusades and everything around the world. However, he did have a home in England. Probably would have set himself a little place up in London before he went under.
I've just realized who you're playing. You're playing the Tomb Guardian from Indiana Jones 3, who never actually ends up in the Grail room. You just end up in some shitty London bar that you've been protecting this whole time.
At least it's not Indiana Jones 4. I can cope with the Indiana Jones 3.
As long as there are no crystals, you're right. You're safe.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Okay, let's talk about Takats then. I think last time we had spoken, Takat, you'd mentioned maybe you'd actually met Mithras. Sort of a long time ago.
Yeah, so Takhat is basically was an Egyptian pharaoh, a Nubian pharaoh. So they are very old. And being the fact that Mithras was a Roman legionnaire, you think you remember you saying, so I think it just kind of links up. So I think coming to the end, when I had stepped back from the front of the ruling and kind of worked more within the shadows with a faith kind of base leader, so I was more manipulative. I think I met Mithras there, and they weren't awe-inspiring. They were it's kind of the same kind of level as me, but their ideas, because they had traveled a lot more than I had. So their ideas of the world and their vision was a lot more inspiring than what I had previously thought of for myself. So I think I set off traveling around the world, and then eventually, when a call was asked, I answered. Of course, for my own reasons, of course.
Yeah, naturally. I don't think any vampire does anything solely out of anything, but there's a selfish reason in everything a vampire does, but and probably a prophet, a pharaoh as well, rather. Okay, interesting stuff. So let's jump over to Lillian. Lillian, what made you want to sign? What made you drink the Kool-Aid and sign up to some Mithras?
I think this would have come directly from my sire, who I was, and I assume still am, in touch with. We have a very business-like relationship, and he's the person who set her up and gave her own house, in both a personal and a professional manner. So it's very much he's her CEO almost, and that would have come from him that this was a good move for all of us to have power and have influence going forward.
Right. Because there was some sort of like political motivations going on there as well, I think, right?
Yes, a little bit, and also just the ability to influence the outcomes of various things, because we're kind of aware of the public perception, and we're not entirely on board with that.
Okay, and then let's jump over to Rahat. Jess, what made Rahat join up and think this was a good idea?
We Pro and I discussed this, that Rahat actually was a scientist and a scholar in the Iberian Peninsula back in the First Inquisition, which was not a good time to be a scientist and a scholar. And so Takatatat had actually called on Rahat to try and discover some things for them before, and they've remained in inconsistent contact since then, and it's very likely that Takatatat would have convinced Rahat that this was a worthy, or at least interesting endeavor. That it might, that it might provide some interesting things for her to study and learn and look at. So that is what would intrigue her.
Okay, cool. Well recommended. There's a survey. How did you find Mithras? A friend recommended me.
Yeah,
Cool.
Friend
okay.
of a friend, I guess.
Yeah.
5
right.
stars on Cult Advisor.
And then, last but not least, Jacob, you filthy Nosferatu, what made you sign up? We can't hear you.
Ugly as well as mute.
Take it back, was what I said.
Oh, you're the cleanest Nosferatu of them all. I'm not going to bully you about it.
I was I'm in London. I was born in London, and I would have joined Mithras because I'd have come across the cult of Mithras while like lurking about and bartering information and secrets, and would have discovered that this is something I didn't know about, and would have joined to find out what it was about. Couldn't give a fuck about Mithras though. Plus, there's no Camarilla here, so.
Right. Joined for interesting stuff, and they probably will do some influence as well, so maybe that would help a little bit.
Well, if there isn't a Camarilla, then I've got to, I've got to shelter with somebody.
Yeah, right, exactly. Okay, so let's take it even further back, because we got some interesting characters here who have been started from different places, and in definitely different times as well. So I want to know how you guys became vampires in the first place, and also if you can touch on a little bit of your human lives as well, because that would be interesting to know if you guys still have that sort of any connection to that humanity left. And of course that's part of the game as well, but yeah, sort of what you were doing in life and how you joined the afterlife as well. So what about Jacob then? What's his story there?
I was homeless and born on the streets, but good at, creeping along in the shadows and getting hired by low-level criminals to follow lower-level criminals and the like. And I was not fully spotted by a Nosferatu, which impressed them, trying to follow one of them, and was turned because of that, and got to know that all powerful. Oh, I'm the worst in Vampire Society. Oh, Thin Bloods are only slightly better than me. Oh. So bitterness crept in, and money and secrets became the only important and relevant factors. I was turned at 21, so I was pretty young, and a sort of street rat that primarily got employed in that way. And the Camarilla was where I immediately, was put to work, and I was generally the person who was sent out to find people and then report back so somebody heavy set and violent could go and deal with them, or if something was needed, like a well poisoning or things that people didn't want to do because it would badly impact your humanity, they generally sent me because they didn't give a fuck about my humanity.
Okay. And does Jacob still have much of a connection to that humanity?
I mean, it's teetering on the edge right now. I'm not like monstrous, but I'm also very morally circumspect when it comes to being told what to do and just going and doing it. Right. If I'm told by somebody in authority, whatever that is, to do a thing, then I will follow that out and get it done. no matter what kind of grubby thing it is I'm being told to do. You know, I've stolen a lot of children for Ventru.
Yikes. Well, you know, it happens. It happens.
It does to me, apparently. It doesn't happen to anyone else. I bodyguard stuff. I'm fine. I go into torpor like the fucking Terminator. I'm super great.
I do enjoy making fun of Gareth. Good stuff. Okay, so what about you, Rahat? What were you doing in life? How did you and when did you end up getting turned?
Yeah, as I said, she grew up in the Iberian Peninsula, kind of at a time when science and technology was frowned upon by the prominent churches in the area. So she was actually like kind of persecuted, and this was offered to her as a way to kind of go underground and continue doing what she was doing, because there were some people that saw the value in it. And in that way, it was kind of an offer to like, hey, here's a solution to, you know, getting murdered for what you do. Here's here's undeath instead of death. And then you can keep, you know how well you can science if you have a long period of time to science over? Really good science. So this is why it seemed attractive. Yeah. And in terms of modern connections, I believe in the sort of flaws and benefits I was building up. I have access to, well, because as a Tremere, you know, you got some good blood magics and you need some body parts. So I may have connections to, I have some humans watching over a crematorium I own. Because if you remove some things before things get cremated, no one notices.
Right. Interesting. And so are they still sciencing? You know, is this still like the main purpose of your life, to perform science? I'm going to put my dog down, but continue.
Don't put your dog down, Will. No!
Sorry.
And it's so little as well. It would just be like one small tap. It wouldn't even be much of a thing, would it?
Oh no!
No.
Oh yeah, the stealing children thing and the well poisoning. Everybody's like, oh yeah, that sounds like super fun. Like joke about killing a little
Adam.
dog.
You can do whatever you want
There's
to children. I don't care.
What was the question again? I got distracted by the puppy. Yeah,
science.
Are they still doing science? I'm gonna. I mean, I think they're still very much interested in it. I think they're going to have to catch up. As I mean, being out of the game for what has it been, like 80 years?
Right.
Your ideas of science puts you pretty behind.
Yeah, your ideas of
science. It's actually such a big, isn't it? Your science, because everything scientific happened in the last 80 years you were in torpor.
Yeah, it's gonna be a little bit of catching up, to do. It's like,
years
you know, you missed.
All.
Yeah, you missed. It's like you missed the most important weeks of class,
Yeah.
and then you come back right in time for like the exam, and you're like, well, crap.
Oh, you're a scientist. Okay, can you check on the genetics of this? The what of the who? What's this bendy thing? Fuck you.
What's this spinny ladder of lines and codes? Huh?
I don't even know what that swirly thing is, but don't lie to me. It's not a kind of acid. I've seen that shit. We've melt people in that.
Just don't tell her you've got a headache, otherwise she'll get the drill out.
Be willow fine.
Leeches. Are you ready for some leeches?
Trees and stuff, you know, like, I can brew this down. It'll only take 20 minutes.
You know Gwyneth Paltrow would be all over leeches. That's going to be next year.
I think there isn't a degree of cunt that Gwyneth Paltrow wouldn't sing to.
Oh, appropriate choice of words.
Is she not already selling like high quality leeches? I'm sure.
Probably.
Just the finest ones.
Only the most artisanal leeches one can find. Okay, so let's talk then a little bit about how Lillian ended up becoming a vampire. How did that happen? What did that look like?
Okay, so Lillian was born in London to a fairly, not a well-off family, but she was educated to a degree and looked after. But then her parents died and she couldn't inherit. She was unmarried, and she ended up being taken under the wing of a madame who ran a very high-class brothel, and slowly worked her way up and became quite a well-known courtesan. And during that, she became very aware that she thought she could run the business a hell of a lot better than this woman. And there was a rival house, and she ended up going to that house and essentially offering to move to there. And they decided that they would much rather use her because she was pretty good at manipulating people. They wanted to use her as a spy inside to bring that house down slowly. And over the course of this happening, she kept having meetings with people in this other house, and was eventually brought in to meet somebody. She had no idea who it was at the time. But it turned out this was the person who was masterminding this entire operation of this rival house, who ended up being her sire. And they didn't bring the other house down entirely, but they brought it down to a point where it was still fun to keep messing with them. They had essentially won. And on the night that she was given her own house and she was made madame of her own, I'll call it a brothel, but it was much more high class than that. On that night, she was turned.
So like a high class brothel.
A very high class brothel. Yes,
So like
we're
nice
talking
buildings,
more like, we're talking like courtesans
butlers and
rather
stuff,
than
but then basically
we're
fucking in all the
catering to
rooms.
dukes and minor royals and things like that. The kind
So the
of
clientele are
people
higher
that-
class, but it's basically still just fucking.
isn't it always? You can dress it up however you want. It's still just fucking. But they like that class of clientele because for them as a business, it's a very good way of having political influence. So they use it more. It's less for the art of what they're doing and more for the ability to have people in their pockets.
I hear that. I hear that stuff happens. Interesting. Okay, so what then about our friend? Haven't we done yet? Cat, man, this was so long ago for you.
Yeah, it was.
Do you even remember?
I think they do. I think they have like a very good memory of it, and I think so it doesn't drive them kind of crazy. They've learned to kind of meditate and allow certain memories to kind of take more than others at certain periods, kind of like an acquisition, if and when.
Right.
So I think their early years, they were groomed to be a pharaoh. They always knew that there would be greatness. They were always told that they would make the sun rise and the sea move. And it was my eventual sire called that's not the name. I know, right? The sire called Heret, who was the head priest in an Anubis cult. And they were kind of the kind of royal family, kind of secret religion. And they would raise up pharaohs, manipulate them, and then if they couldn't turn them, they would just kill them off and get another line of that kind of branch in and do the same thing. So I was turned at the height of my power, about 34, and pretty old, and was kind of pushed through there. And I think they always wanted the main forefront in their mind was the people first. They, even when they were a vampire, they always wanted the best and the most prosperous outcome for the people and the continuing power of like the kingdom and the dynasty.
Cool. Okay. And then that brings us, I think, to Sir Quinn. How did you become sire? What were you doing as a human?
So Sir Quinn was a knight. His life is kind of, as his normal mortal, had always been kind of a story of never being able to actually kind of settle down. Life always just kind of taking him in the next direction. He quickly was swept up into the life of a page, and then a squire, and then a knight. And every time he was thinking, okay, I'll be able to settle down and make myself a life. Then he was sent off. He was sent off onto the Crusades. And when he came back, he found the person, his lord, had been killed. And all that was left was his sire, the person that turned in. I'm thinking that potentially he attempted to avenge his lord and take out this sire, which obviously would be no fight whatsoever.
Right.
But whether the sire decided he had something in him or he just wanted to torment him a little bit further, he decided to turn him. So my sire is, I'll name my sire as well, Pretorius, which kind of links back to the Roman theme, whether you want to put something in there. And then he was quickly taken to task. He has never been a fan of his life as a vampire. He's always he's a self-loathing vampire. It's always been something he's secretly hated. He realizes he doesn't like what he's become and what he has to do. And again, he's been put into torpor and sent all around the world, and he's had to do some hideous things. He's not always been on the right side of history. He's had to do some things which he definitely doesn't agree with, but he's kind of followed because that's all he's got left. And he's ended up here, and he's really not sure. He's got nothing really to show for anything.
Right. That's another question, actually. Are there any other self-loathing vampires? Do we all like being vampires for the most part? Okay.
Yeah, the only thing my character doesn't like is the fact that they had to change from being kind of like God-fearer of the sun to the version of the moon, and they've been trying to revert that so that they can still be a vampire but be in the sun.
Yeah, that's interesting. Do they still hold sort of like ancient Egyptian beliefs in terms of like gods and stuff like that, or has that changed since?
I think the gods kind of moved away, but the rituals and the kind of traditions still hold strong, and that actually also goes into some of my touchstones as well.
Yeah, that's perfect actually, because we're going to jump right into those. So if you're new to Vampire, touchstones are like humans that maybe you have a relationship with or remind you of someone that long ago you had a relationship with. It could be your human child that you had, but now maybe you no longer see, or maybe you creepily sneak up on them in the night just to look at them. Maybe it's someone that just reminds you of a former lover that you had hundreds of years ago and you fascinate and obsess about them. Touchstones can really be anything, but something that sort of maybe reminds you of your former life or just sort of keeps you connected to humanity in a way. So yeah, talk to us about Takat's touchstones, if you can a bit, Josh.
Yes, I can. So the first one is like an ancient Egyptian named Amenhotep, and I was thinking that this person, so whoever they are in modern time, this Egyptian fellow is probably some like old, like watered down blood descendant of Amenhotep, and because they were once that person with the name was actually a real life pharaoh in history, so I kind of consider them as being part of the family, and that's my connection family wise of like finding like a long lost strain. And then my second one is an archaeologist in the London Museum, Egyptian archaeologist, so someone who kind of respects the culture and understands it, so kind of holds it to a high regard.
Awesome. Okay, that's a lot to work with. Okay, what about you, Sir Quinn? Who's your
sorry. So Quinn, again. So the problem is, because we're waking up. Is this person a touchstone in 2012?
It's up to you. I mean, it could be that you haven't met this person yet, but this is a touchstone that you sort of want to meet, and I can pop into a story for us.
Yes. So I think
fine.
I think there's going to be a church of St. Michael, who I think is the patron saint of soldiers. There's going to be a Sister Abigail who works at that church, and I think there's some good in her, watching her help people, watch her work through adversity and kind of get things done. And I think he admires that, and he sees something there, and he finds a tiny bit of peace there when he's visited.
Right. Okay, cool. Any others, or just that one for now?
I think that's all I've got. I kind of had an idea of maybe like a radio play he used to listen to, whether the actor on there, he couldn't really discern between reality but he held this person as a hero, but I haven't kind of fleshed that out completely. But he didn't really understand that it was an actor, and I think he kind of got mixed up between reality and what he was listening to. So there was a radio play with like a cowboy that used to do the right thing, and he just used to listen to that, and that was something that kind of gave him a little bit of happiness that he was able to do and not get too affected. Everyone's smiling weirdly, but
is one of your touchstones the Lone Ranger?
Yeah, kind of the Lone Ranger without being the Lone Ranger.
Okay, cool. Let's see, Lillian. Any touchstones either that you have or that you think might pop up into a story that I can sort of I can throw in?
Yeah, I think she still likes to fuck with the descendants of the company she formerly worked for. So the family of that brothel owner. I think it's almost like a cat playing with a mouse. She likes to get their hopes up and maneuver things behind the scenes so that they think something amazing is about to happen, and they're probably not even in that business anymore. These descendants have no idea about any of this beef that went on in the past, but she just can't let that go and just kind of wants to punish them a little bit. So she likes messing with them.
Until like one day they go onto my ancestry and find out their family.
Okay. Yeah, so she likes messing with them. And also she was never a big fan of, you were talking earlier about anybody who's a reluctant vampire. I think Lillian's quite the opposite. She was never a fan of human weakness when she was human. And she believes that love is a weakness. So for her, being a vampire is a very powerful, liberating thing, but there are just those little niggling shreds of it that irk her. And I think she at one point had a daughter that was given up, and at the time it was nothing to her, but it kind of just played on her mind enough so that if she sees somebody who looks a bit like her, she just wonders if that could be a relation.
Yeah, that's interesting. That would haunt you. Okay, cool. Let's go to Rahat. Any touchstones that have jumped to mind?
Yeah. As I said, I took in the merits, I took contacts, crematorium. So I don't know if I invested in a family-run crematorium or something like that, and I just
they're almost all family-run, right? Like whenever I see them,
they are, and they get passed down the line, right? Like that's very much a thing. Like
because try like training somebody up from Cole. Like I used to work in an office. Well, now,
and it's because
Yeah, no one
Yeah.
responds to those ads.
like co-op fucking funeral care sounds
Yeah.
so garbage and awful that it makes your mind shatter
Yeah,
when you try
that
and think
would
about
be-
I'm going to go and get a
that's
coffin
dark.
from the co-op. Are you? Kill yourself.
That would be dark.
Yeah, so,
Okay, so you've got like
I think
staff who work there, maybe.
yeah, like I would say that like we all just said, it's funeral homes
Yeah.
often like end up being these long family endeavors. So this funeral home / crematorium, I definitely have a connection to at least one person remaining from the family there. And then I kind of like the idea of, as I said, because when she lived and when she started first changed and everything like that was a time when all of her scholarship and everything like that would have had to have been underground. I like the idea that it permeated like sort of an underground sect of like a private group of scholars that would have hidden some of, especially because once you become a Tremere vampire, then part of it, science then turns into blood magic somehow. There's just, it rolls over naturally from one into the other, you see.
Yeah.
So I think that sort of that sect of scholars and like people would have kept a like private underground group. And
like
there's
that.
still, it's probably not very big and it's probably not very strong, but in some small way it still remains.
Right. Yeah. There's bound to be sort of like secret little Illuminati groups who don't actually have any power, who just like meet to talk about science and poetry, right?
Yeah,
Maybe a vampire.
science, poetry,
knows?
and blood magic. It's all just
Right.
hippy dippy stuff, like just.
It would be interesting if you remember them all being vampires, but like in London they're not vampires, they're just sort of like people who are like fans of yours, maybe.
Oh no, it's just this like this remnants of these sad human fans, and like they have none of the information right anymore. Like they're completely wrong
Right.
at this point.
What Touchstone is a hot topic store?
But like
in the back room.
the back room, yes, the back room of the hot topic. Oh, sad. Now I'm sad.
Being a vampire
Sorry,
is
you
so
can make people's
glamorous.
blood boil. That's got to take the edge off, right?
Man, that's hilarious. Okay, cool. And Jacob, any touchstones?
Yeah, I've gone with like a local homeless leader who I would presumably have to meet after the fact. I don't really have much in the way of connections to real life. My sire is dead, so I have a homeless person who reminds me vaguely of him in terms of his manner, obviously not being a crinkly monster. And he's a sort of a local, person that's listened to in the homeless community. It's also connects into the allies I've got with the homeless network and things like that. And I have a mortuary attendant who's also a contact or something. No, not that one's a contact. I have a mortuary attendant who continually gets put upon and follows orders constantly that I empathize with in as much as I'm able to empathize with anyone.
Okay, cool. Let me put that down there. All right, cool. That is interesting. We've got some messed up characters, eh? This is gonna be fun for Ring all together in London. Let's see, what next should we talk about? Oh, let's talk about so not touchstones necessarily that they have to be human, but like other important NPCs. They could be vampires, they could be your sires, who might come up in the story or who you feel might be sort of important. This could be a friend of yours who's also a vampire, and your pen pals. You've kept in touch for ages, or like I say, it could be your sire. That definitely could be a relationship that's important. So, any other sort of characters that you've been thinking about when you've been making your character that we can sort of plot into the story to tie to your characters? we'll go back to Jacob and just go around again. So Jacob, is there anyone like that who?
Okay, yeah, I've got a Mauler, which is the primogen of the Nosferatu, Nicholas something, probably just Nicholas Nosferatu crap. So that one would be key. Like multiple homeless people, but you can just invent names as you're going, and I'll roll with it. The mortuary attendants, Olivia Halford. I've got a mask, which is where I have a savings account, which is why I have a small amount of money. Which is Philip Gleam. Which is just it's a mask level 1. It's not like the FBI wouldn't break this. Right, it's more like I've got a birth certificate and things like that, so I can go into a bank and draw money out and so on. Otherwise, yeah, it's just numerous homeless and associated down and out scum who I can garner information from.
Cool. Alrighty. For some reason next to my list is Quinn, so surprise and jump in a queue. So Quinn, any NPCs? I mean, you mentioned your sire Praetorius might pop up.
So he kind of went. No one ever knew that he was dead, but he just didn't give FaceTime anymore. So whether he have other things going on, the kind of organization of the group I was with still kept going. And there are a whole bunch of kind of thralls and things that deal with the day-to-day side, and they pass messages on. And there were a couple of safe houses kept before, just with basic things which obviously things may have changed. It's up to you whether you want the group to keep going or not. And I imagine there's maybe 1 or 2 other vampires that would have worked in this group that he may have worked with before. I'm seeing like an old kind of Victorian era policeman that was turned, and he's kind of works for the group, and I'll let you throw anyone else in there as well.
Okay. Sounds good to me. Next I've got Lillian. Lillian, anyone that vampire or otherwise who's a character we might encounter or be interested in?
That would definitely be my sire, Edwin Hayward. Like we talked about before, he kind of guides things, and she doesn't defer to many people, but he is one of the few she will defer to. Other than that, I mean, she's always got this little group of thralls. She's very good at gathering people to her and getting them to the point where they will do anything for her. Not for her approval, because that ain't gonna happen. But I'd imagine most of the previous, before they went into torpor, are kind of dead now. So I quite like the idea, because Toreador are all about beauty and opulence and enjoying their surroundings. I quite like the idea of her having a very beautiful apartment that she's left when she went into torpor. Under strict instructions that the people who manage this apartment, I'm thinking like luxury doorman type situation. They've had this picture of her on the front desk, and this has been passed down as kind of almost myth at this point from whoever takes over the job in each generation, that if this person comes in, that apartment that we've been keeping clean is for her. And they think it's a joke at this point, I think.
This house has been empty for 100 years. Yeah.
Yes, but they have to keep it clean. They have to keep it as beautiful and untouched and unchanged.
Yeah. It's definitely part of the housing crisis.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that is Lillian. I've got Takat. You've got to have some old buds or enemies lying around, listed around the world, right?
Yeah, the numerous, especially when we kind of touching with Lindy's stuff. But so the most important one, I think, then, my sire in Heret is still alive. They hate me. They were the head priest of the Anubis cult, the one that kind of groomed pharaohs and things like that. I deposed them because I didn't like how they were manipulating people, and ever since we've been always butting heads. So I think they most likely are still in charge of a branch of the Anubis cult, and that's kind of like another kind of faction I'm against. Since most of like the Camarilla stuff and all that other things didn't really exist when I was a young vampire. So this old faction stuff. And I think for vampires then, I think it would be probably like someone from like a war, probably like the First World War, like a spy.
Cool. Which side?
I don't think I ever knew.
Right. Yeah.
And so
maybe wouldn't really on any side if they're a vampire.
Yeah, like I don't think I was on any side either, because I think I was just in it for. At that point, I think I was bored and was just looking for a fight. So I think I was definitely just there as a hired kind of person.
Right. Okay.
I can give you some details later.
Yeah. And so goes for everyone, really. We're just sort of hashing things out here. As details come, as names come, as locations come, file them over in our private chat. I'll fill in the details. This is all very helpful for me. So Jess, what about Rahat? Anyone around that we should know about?
I do imagine her sire's still alive too, but I don't think, like, I think it's sort of a they contact her, she can't contact them sort of situation, because they only hang out in the most, like, exclusive Hot Topic back rooms, just
right.
Only the super secret ones. But yeah, they're definitely still up to some secret society type nonsense. And then I imagined not only some other Tremere type vampires, but maybe a ghoul or two. I don't know. I have to admit I don't know the lore of vampire very well, but my understanding was I don't know, it seemed like that might be someone who hangs out with blood sorcery people. At least when I was reading all the blood sorcery stuff, it sounded rather ghoulish. So I don't know if if that makes sense, but I like the idea of, that's from what I was reading, it's still not, it had a bit of a fall from grace.
Yeah, you can definitely have like ghouls who are like bloodbound to you or sort of dominated by you. I think as well, I'm just looking on here, page 234 is more on ghouls, so we can read up on that.
Yeah, I'm gonna make a note of that
between sessions. But it's basically a mortal who drinks a vampire's blood. They become something more and something less than a human. So they get like a little bit of the power, but it wears off. And vampires use ghouls as retainers where loyalty outweighs keeping the masquerade, since a single kindred can blood bond as many ghouls as they can manage. And it's a bit more on there as well. So yeah, it's sort of like someone you might keep around who's helpful, useful, or just, you keep them around because you enjoy enthralling people. I
definitely think it's much more the usefulness. I think it's much more the...
I like your lab assistant.
Yeah, you need someone who knows exactly which coffee to run out and grab you when you're staying up all night doing blood magics,
Yeah,
so
that's true. Yeah, and like, if they're just humans, they're probably more easily damaged during experiments.
Yeah, and they're all squeamish when you start like taking body parts out to like throw into your cauldron, and like, we're doing science here. Stop puking. Like, this is important work we're doing.
You're getting vomit from the science.
Now cut that tongue out and bring it over here. Come on.
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay. So those are our touchstones and our our NPCs. Did everyone come up with like convictions for their vampires yet? That's great. Let's go around and learn about what your convictions are, because these are our sort of like, oh god, I've forgotten even a name for them in D&D 5e. It's been so long since I played them. I don't know. Someone will remind me in chat.
I don't
They're
think
like
I
the
ever
thing-
used them in D&D.
There's
Yeah,
no
the
real
things that you
direct
like-
correlation for this shit, because it's like the media, it's sort of like as you get older, you get dumped with them.
Yeah. They're like bonds, right? D&D 5e bonds and flaws. Anyway, you guys know what I mean. They're the things that like you do, and they're your convictions. That's as good a description as you're going to get from me at this hour. So Jacob, tell us, what are you convicted? What are you convicted for?
I don't hurt or allow to be hurt the homeless. And I obey perceived authority, whether that was initially the Camarilla, now it's whoever's in charge here. We'll probably have to determine which person I consider to be most in charge out of the six of us. Because that person I'll probably habitually obey, irregardless.
That's probably going to count. That's probably going to account clear as soon as we start playing. But I have a suspicion
but
might
that
be
will,
the cat.
yeah. I mean, it's probably going to end up being to Cat because Ventru's run the Camarilla, and that seems similar. But not necessarily. It would depend on who feels the most in charge, as opposed to who directly is. Because dominating's super great against other vampires. So he has, who actually appears to be the most in charge, not whomever actually, Eminence Grease the most in charge is. And no, I have no feeding off the homeless as a flaw, I think. Well, it doesn't. It sounds like I've got feeding prey exclusion for homeless people. I won't feed off them, and I probably wouldn't take it super well if other people were like harming the homeless. But Nosferatu, so that probably accounts for like putting like boiling water in their coffin at night or something rather than punching them.
Right. And then we should bring up any flaws that you have as well, because that will be interesting.
Oh yeah,
to know.
I've got bonding long bond. So bonds go away much slower on my character if I'm bonded to someone. My sire's dead though, so no big problem there. But in terms of like an authority type bond, and I obviously have heard obvious predator because it's such a gimme as a Nosferatu. But I have Sandman, so that doesn't matter worth a shit.
Okay. All right, let's go to Lillian. No, sorry, Rahat, you're next. Rahat, do you have any convictions, any flaws to tell us about?
I don't know if I quite really got the convictions done, but I did take flaws that I feel like is kind of a conviction. I took prey exclusion, children. And I just view that actually more as like thinking of it logically, since that's kind of how Rahat thinks. It's more just like, why would you eat a fruit off a tree before it's ripe? It's not ready yet. So,
Because it tastes better.
No, why? You have to let your
like the
wines
exact
age.
opposite with blood.
You need a nice vintage. You don't want some that's just grape juice at that point. I don't want that. I want a fine wine.
You're going from heroin, which is children, down to like, I don't know, Lucasade, which is old people.
In the back room of a hot topic, you're surprised?
Break out the Lucasade, everyone. We're going wild tonight.
Big night. Fantastic. Okay, Lillian, tell us about your convictions and any flaws you may have.
One of them we touched on earlier, that love is a weakness. Always be the less loving party. That's a big thing for her, and it's not just romantic love. It's any form of affection makes her feel a little bit uncomfortable. It reminds her of weakness, so she's always keen in any social situation to just be a little bit less into it than the other party, if they're being pleasant to her. To the point where I think if people have been around her enough, they'll realize that her being very straight down the line and very efficient is her way of showing that she respects you. She probably wouldn't give anybody the time of day otherwise. And also one which would probably surprise people, punish those who abuse the disenfranchised. She's very much about justice when it comes to people abusing their power, which is hilarious given the rest of her personality, but she's seen enough in her times at the first house to know what that's like. She did not like her former madame, and she doesn't like the majority of her clients. So she kind of picks on people.
Yeah, does she choose to feed on those who are sort of abusers of power, or maybe those who are sort of she sees as deserving of it?
She definitely sees that as more exciting prey. That's more interesting. But as far as feeding is concerned, which may be a surprise, I think, given that she's a toreador, it's nothing to do with sex. She is a consent. What's the term for it?
Super toreador. That's like as toreador as you can get. That's fucking massively toreador.
Yeah, I think a lot of people would think because she's a former prostitute that I would have gone down the sex route, but I quite like the idea of keeping on with that dominatrix vibe. And that she wants to take somebody, particularly somebody who's powerful and an asshole, and make them so obsessed with pleasing her that they will let her take their blood.
Lily only hunts powerful assholes. I like that.
Or just assholes generally. Just
yeah. It always comes back to sex in the end.
Any flaws?
That is one of her flaws. I took Bond junkie because I think that's part of what makes up her personality. That sort of fear of being close to people, that she doesn't like that vulnerability that comes with it. She's got the dark secret masquerade breacher that comes with the consent thing. Folkloric bane. So holy water damages fire. Oh no. And a spurned lover, who I'm assuming will be like an OAP at this stage.
Could be a vampire, you know.
Yeah, that could work.
Another vampire.
That could work.
You can actually have sex at your generational level.
Good to know. I'm sure she would not want to do that.
Oh no, I'm just saying, like, you know, if you wanted to be a lover, you can actually do it.
Okay.
I mean, like the cat is like almost got no genitals by this point, for example.
Okay, I might play around with my flaws then and change it, because at the moment I've got the spurned lover as an average mortal, but it'll be much more interesting if that's a vampire. So I might play around with those between now and next session.
Okay. Yeah, go for it. Takat. Convictions and flaws that you have.
Yeah, and I kind of take it as well that these kind of convictions are what they would most likely connect most with people with the same kind of ones as well. So they are courage is the highest virtue. My country, right or wrong, and none may control me.
Interesting. Cool.
And flaws, did you say as well?
Yeah, any flaws you got as well?
Yes. So I have enemies. That's got 2 dots in it. Which I'm guessing is like the Anubis cult people hunting me.
Yeah, the idiot character.
Yeah. And I also have fame as well. I kind of put that as like a good and bad, because I'm adored by some weird subculture, so that could also be like kind of too obsessed with me to the point that they want to kill me and take my place.
That's only if that's a flaw, right? If that's is that if you got stalkers as a flaw, that's awesome.
I don't know. I have fame, but it could go either way. You know, it just depends.
Right.
I also have mythic as well, so I can only enter houses if I'm invited first. Because I'm old school.
Yeah, you keep it real. There's one invite. All right, cool. That's a good one. And also just on the country one, it's like, does Takat sort of believe in like modern Egypt, sort of just Egypt, no matter what it's looking like, that's your country, or is it actually like ancient Egypt and the country that you sort of ruled? What's the relationship there?
So I definitely think it initially was ancient Egypt, but I think with just the passage of time and them still seeing old monuments from ancient Egypt still up and erected and still being marveled at, I think they are definitely pushing into the current Egypt, but in a more idealistic view of ancient times. So kind of amalgamation of the both.
Right. Okay, excellent. And Sir Quinn.
Yeah, I've got a few weird ones as we go. Some of Sir Quinn's kind of date back to chivalry, and they've kind of been twisted and warped through what he's had to do. So we have give no quarter, so he's not one to back down. He's not one to retreat, even if a situation's potentially against him. We have respect the weak. He doesn't believe on kind of inciting and hurting those people that he deems beneath him. So try to look after them when he can. He has been on the wrong side of history, but he does try and avoid hurting those that have no choice in the decisions whatsoever. He also believes in no torture or anything like that. It's not something he deems as fair, and it's not something he would kind of sign off on. And he won't hurt children at all. And I think that would be an absolute no, especially for anyone in the group as well. He would kind of stand in front of that. He also believes in.
Did ever have children?
No, but he's seen some atrocities on the battlefield that kind of stay with him through life and unlife. As well as you've got a job to do, which kind of means that when he's given a task, he has to kind of stick to that. And whether he questions it or not, he tries to focus and go down that route unless he's given a very strict reason why not to.
Awesome. And those were both convictions and flaws, I take it?
Kind of, some of them are archaic, living in the past as a flaw, and I've added feeding prey exclusion children, as well as that being a conviction as well.
Yeah, I think that might be the case. Interesting. Well, some of the characters want to protect children. Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I also remember I know why I said fame was a flaw, as well as like a boon, because I have Osiris, and I can only really feed on people who kind of worship me or see me as a deity or who like are fans of me. From what I was kind of reading. So and the resonance that I picked was that I only really like older people. So like a fine wine.
Oh, you gonna hate me?
Old dusty blood. You'd have to blow some cobwebs off it. It's not worth having.
This isn't oak.
Isn't matured.
Okay, so that is a fair bit of what I wanted to get into. Now we can actually. Okay, so let's do some random connections. So I only want to do a couple of these. So just as some starter sort of ideas for how you guys know or knew each other, and maybe you interacted with each other in the past. We sort of talked before that you guys, to whatever degree knew each other, worked together, fought against one another or with each other. And so, yeah, get a die or some dice around. And we're just going to go around and roll a d20. You can do it in the fantasy grounds, or if you've got any dice handy, you can just roll that. So you'll see how this works in a moment. This is one of the fun games, the Wheel of character bonding is about to begin. The wheel of bonding. Okay.
That sounds like
Jacob,
something I would have in my quarters.
Yeah, it's like something you.
I take it you mean just off camera rather than in the game.
Yeah, it's just right there.
Uh,
Thank you, my equipment
the
is
cat
shot.
keeps chewing on it. Fucking hell.
Give me a D20 roll, Adam, and we'll see what happens.
We got a 5.
A 5, I hear you say. Okay,
Starting good with
adventured-
these D20 scores.
Yeah. You adventured with one of the other characters in the group at one point. What the adventure was is totally up to you, and how long that.
It's a shame that she's not here because it would nearly certainly be Lindy.
You can have a bit of sure.
Well, she's a bloodless psychopath, and so it's very likely that I would have had to find targets for her, and then just sort of wait in a tree nearby while she runs in and kills everyone. So it's nearly certainly her. In terms of other relationships, I'd hardly ever spend time with a bodyguard, I don't think, because we just wouldn't move in the same circles at all. And it would be whichever one of Takat or Lillian probably is the most stroppily in charge all the time that I would defer to. Whoever that is. Yeah. I don't know which one of you. If you plan on being like Eminence Grease type in charge Takat, then it would probably end up being Lillian.
Yeah, I think Takat is more of a subtle. So they won't bark orders. They won't be very forceful. They'll just expect something to be done when they say it, and if it's not, then there'll be repercussions. They exude more power than they kind of have to express because that's what they were raised to be.
Which one of you would be higher, probably, do you think, in the cult? Because that would be super, valuable knowledge for me.
I do actually have the merit, which was luminary. You sit at the table of power in a group of respected members of the Reemerging.
Okay, so probably would it be you then?
Sure, if you want it to be.
Oh, it doesn't really matter. It just has to be one of you, and it's not going to be the servant or the scientist or the lunatic.
Sure. We can roll like a D4, and you can be like 1 to 2, 3 to 4.
Yeah, that works for me. It doesn't really matter which one, but one of you, I would habitually follow your orders.
2. Okay. Well, there were the 2. Cool.
Right,
I'm down for that.
Following some Takat leadership makes sense, I think.
Yeah, Ventru as well. So.
Yeah. Okay.
Also, Toreadors are without question hated by the Nosferatu, so there's that.
Okay. Lillian, give me a D20.
17.
My favorite number. You are indebted to one of the characters. It could be a monetary debt. It could be like a blood debt or something like that. Maybe someone helped you out in the past. You can decide who that is and what that nature of that relationship might be.
I don't think she doesn't get herself into physical scrapes a huge amount. I think this would probably have been more of a... I almost want to take it down the magic route. Like something biological with Rahat, something that needed solving along those lines. But I think you'd be better off telling me what you could help with, and then we can come up with a reason why that happened.
I think if you were providing Rahat with an interesting challenge or puzzle, she's gonna be right there on top of that to solve it.
And this was biological?
Well,
what skills are there that I could use?
Yeah, because I have a lot of points in science, academia, and technology, but once again, if we're talking about we went to sleep 80 years ago or whatever it was, then it was a little bit different. So it could be the blood magic. It could be.
What level of thaumaturgy have you got?
Because I'm currently thinking that there was a client that she had been working with for a long time, and there was something going wrong with that situation. If he died, the whole tarot cards kind of collapsed.
Mm-hmm.
If there's anything you could do with that.
Well, it could be, we don't necessarily have to hash out the detail. Maybe it's that Lillian Rahat helped Lillian out with blood magic, and then we can figure out how that, how that actually worked. But
okay, great.
Sounds like maybe Lillian needed an expert in blood magic and science.
Sounds
Turn to
good
Rahat. Okay. Let's go to Rahat then. Give us a D20. Let's see what happens.
9.
9. 9 is... Okay, you survived a close encounter with one of the other characters in your coterie.
Oh, that's funny, because I was thinking you can totally say no to this if you don't want, but considering Sir Quinn was on the Crusades, and that's some of the things that I was writing into my character background as some of the stuff that was the most damaging and threatening to her, I could see that having been a clash at some point.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he's done some horrible things that under the orders of others, and that works.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so maybe
I think that's a fun.
Almost had a bit of murder going on there, or was in a dangerous situation with Rahat. Okay, close run-in.
Yeah, I mean, it could be because Rahat would have had to have moved around, honestly, as the Crusades were happening. There would have been persecution and movement and running. So I don't know if you.
So when were you turned? So during the Crusades, would you have been a vampire then?
I would have already been a vampire by that point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Quinn wouldn't have been. So potentially you were in a safe space or something during the day, and maybe this entire force came and burned the village to the burned your village where you were safe to the ground, and you only escaped as it turned to dusk. Your homestead, your haven was burned to the ground, and you managed to escape.
Yeah, I think that works.
Oh yeah.
Well, at that time you wouldn't have been too terrible. You wouldn't be being incinerated in the sun. You'd have been 100 or something.
Yeah, I would have been
you wouldn't have been
yeah.
Walking outside, catch fire. You could run in
Could just pop my collar and
run
run outside.
Yeah, leg it and burn, basically. Yeah.
Yeah, but you may well have seen thralls or people you cared about maybe killed, or you had to leave them behind because of me.
Yeah,
or because of the group. Not specifically, but you would maybe when you saw my heraldry, that might be something that brings back a vivid memory.
Yeah, no, definitely. As soon as you mentioned the Crusades, I was like, haha, this is gonna be a thing.
Okay, let's go to Takat. Rolls a D20, my friend. Let's see what happens.
Yeah. 4.
You are protected by one of the other members of your coterie. Maybe Sir Quinn is a natural one to go to there. Maybe it's someone else.
I think we mentioned this when we were doing the initial thing about it potentially being that if you're down for that.
You don't always necessarily need to know about it. Maybe someone's put this contract down for someone to keep an eye on you. Maybe it's something you don't know, and maybe it's something I have to keep secret, because maybe it's something you would never agree to, because I'm obviously a fair lesser vampire than you, but maybe I've been given.
I think you need protection, and this is embarrassing that someone's.
Oh my god, are you Joffrey?
Am I the fucking hound or something like that? I'm the mountain. There we go.
No, I think you're the hound, my friend. That, if the hound had to go to sleep every 3 months in that show, you'd be the hound.
I actually prefer, I can't remember the name of the woman now, so be that person. She's cool.
Yeah. There we go.
No, but I like that. Yeah, secret. I don't know about it. It opens up a lot of play.
And that's something that could maybe develop as we go along. I quite like that. Yeah, that's a pretty cool way to do that.
I look forward to finding out this secret from you.
Why are you always following me? Goodness,
I'm just following around with my finger on my targets on the move.
I'm trying to go to the toilet.
The gerbil is in the box. Who are you talking to? Why are you touching your ear?
The pyramid is on the move, yeah.
The
No.
Sphinx is still enigmatic.
All right then. Let's have Sir Quinn roll a d20.
Let's do it. Go on then. I got a 16.
16. You lost a bet to one of the members of your coterie. What was the bet? Who you lost it to? It's totally up to you.
Lillian, when would you have ran your clubs? What kind of era?
That would have been late 1800s, probably 1875 onwards.
Yeah, so maybe Quinn was in this place with some high flighting client who would have come to them, and perhaps there was someone causing problems, and maybe I made a bet with you that I would be able to deal with him and take care of it, but I imagine you stepped in and did something amazing, and Quinn's kind of always been a little bit of awe that you're able to take control so quickly.
I think she would very much have enjoyed that situation and would have happily let you get into it just so she could save you.
Yeah, and I imagine like Quinn was being a bit, watch me take care of this, and you're like, hang on, I bet you that I can do that. Like you don't even get involved.
Yes. Yeah. And she would have known a weakness in you. I think she's good at spotting that sort of thing. Yeah. Okay, we'll work out the details of that. I like that.
Yeah, and I owe you something. It could be something trivial or whatever. I'll let you think about what you would have bet and what you would have got out of me.
Oh, it would never be an item.
Oh,
it's always a favor. She's not dumb.
Fucking Toreadors.
Yeah, maybe you're now sort of indebted in the sense that like you owe Lillian one previously undescribed, can call in at any moment kind of favor.
You literally made me write I owe you or something, but you carry around it. You've got a bag of them. Or
You can't get them all in a bag.
You need a hefty
Jacob,
hammer
you are
strength.
lucky that you fall into the category of disenfranchised.
So nice. All right, let's do one more round of random relationships. Then we're going to move on to our final game, which is Never Have I Ever. That's going to be a fun one. So let's roll up to Jacob. Give me one more D20, my friend. We'll free you from your immortal bond.
Where the fuck's the D20? Oh, there it is. 19.
Okay. You are, or were, the dueling partner of one of the members of your coterie. Maybe someone wanted to use you to,
Oh no, I
train
was
them.
target practice, wasn't I?
You might have been target practice for one of the other vampires in this coterie.
There's only 2 combative ones.
it kind of goes against my.
Yeah, you wouldn't really do that, and I've got Lindy already as like.
Unless it was a willing thing, maybe I was trying to help you. Maybe I watched you get beaten up or something, and I spent a little bit of time.
I don't know. It's a weird one because, like, if I didn't want to get hit, you just wouldn't be able to see me. So it would have to be somebody I'm purposefully
because,
not.
Well, Lillian is very strong. So I don't know if a
physically
situation
strong.
arose where there was enough of a. I don't know. What have I got?
I don't know. Did you really want to learn? Did you really want to learn how to fight once, but you didn't want somebody who was very scary? Or oh no, you have oh hang on. So do you have much in Auspex?
Let's have a look.
Well, it doesn't necessarily be a
one.
combat duel, right? You could do
One.
like a mental duel.
Yeah.
or-
That's exactly what I was thinking. Auspex breaks obfuscate in theory. So possibly you wanted target practice in the sense of not being fooled by invisibility or hiding, being able to see through the veil of things. That makes probably more sense, I imagine. And I was probably assigned it by them and told to do it. And if you wanted to become better at seeing through the veil or something to that effect, I suppose you could duel in that regard.
Yeah, it might be one of those things that, like, if you don't use these powers even as a vampire, you get a little rusty. You wanted to keep your wits up, train on a vampire rather than a human, because those are just boring and super easy. That makes sense.
Work out the details.
Yeah, we can work on those. Rat, give us another D20.
Nine?
I think you rolled 9 last time. Let's have a reroll.
Okay. Can do. Uno.
You were saved by one of the members of your coterie, so you survived a close encounter with Sir Quinn, but you're also saved by another member of this clan of yours. Whether that was, I don't know, physically saved from an encounter, or maybe, I don't know, existentially saved, or financially saved.
I'm trying to think what makes
Just
sense.
Taken in a sense that, like, maybe you were homeless when you came to London and someone like helped you find a home.
I guess it wouldn't be Jacob, because your whole thing is that you're homeless, so you don't have a place to take.
I have a home. I just don't let the homeless get killed.
Okay.
It could be Lillian, because you had that connection that you sort of had helped.
Yeah, I was
Lillian
thinking
out.
that. I just don't want to limit story.
It could be super fun if Sir Quinn was also the person who saved you, not knowing about, and then you didn't find out about the colours until way later.
Oh my god.
Ooh.
That's dirty.
I like it.
I do kind of like it.
It's not an arc without conflict, right?
Right, so
it's
maybe,
kind.
yeah. So you think
It's
Sir
very
Quinn saved
interesting
you
because I think, yeah, Rahat would really want to hold on to that grudge, and if you then saved her, that would be such a piss off. Like, that would be so infuriating.
Yeah, maybe like I gave the call that we spotted you running, and maybe I gave the call that's called the men off that we're gonna chase you down. And
oh no, I think it should be worse than that. I think you gave the call to burn down her village, but then you also, as a vampire, several hundred years later, without wearing your fucking tabard, saved her. I think both be the monster and the person that saved her. None of this.
And the connection was only drawn later.
Yeah, like she didn't
realize
saving
when he was like, "Oh, here are my house colours."
On your wall like a freak. You've already saved her from, I don't know, monsters, werewolves, big ugly things that go, and you take her in and you've got your fucking tabard on the wall. Sick.
Or, even better, Rahat hasn't yet pieced together the fact that who was there in the Crusades, you were in charge of that unit. All that Rahat knows is that you're the one that saved them.
Oh, that's really cool.
And
that's
this dark little secret.
That's vicious, and I love it. It's so horrible.
Like a revolution we both could have been at, and I stepped in and saved you from something or other, which you know about. And there's this other dark
totally in line with your saving women, saving kids, being a big pussy thing.
Being a knight of the realm.
Being a knight of the pussy of the realm thing.
I like that though. Yeah, that's good. So
your coat of arms has a cat on it.
Yeah.
It's got olive on, actually. And I'm going to do that so no one can kill me. I'm bulletproof for the session now.
I think we've already made the rules about dog putting down pretty clear.
Yeah, apparently that's the line.
That's absolutely the line.
Yeah,
How dare you?
Yeah, I know.
It's a hard line now. All right, that was Rahat's.
that was mine.
Lillian, let's give you another roll.
Okay. 19. Rolling high
19.
today.
I'm just gonna do the one next slide because we've already had a dueling partner. You were trained by one of the other members of the coterie. I mean, that could again that plays right into the thing. But maybe there's other skills that you've learned from, older vampires like we have, or cat.
I think I would naturally defer to Cat, but Lindy's character's like full on fighty, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Because Lillian has a lot of, she's got a lot in melee. Just because that's the skill set. I think she might have become aware, especially as wartime started approaching, that perhaps this might be a useful skill for her to adapt into something more protective, because she's not massively fighty. She's more about avoiding the conflict. So I quite like the idea of her directly seeking out Lindy's character and going, how can I adapt these skills I have and make them more about hurting people permanently? Right.
Yeah, I like that a lot. And it definitely seems like Ulrika, who's Lindy's Viking character, would be more than willing to get into some training bouts with, well, pretty much anyone, in fact. I like that. So, Cap, let's have another D20.
All right.
The Wheel of
Bondage.
13. You secretly admire one of the members of your coterie, whether that is in you're such a good servant kind of admiration, or whether that's maybe you see someone as an equal or close as to an equal as to Cat can sort of see with other vampires, or someone who, maybe you don't tell them, but secretly you think they might have something going.
I think the person who they like secretly admire, I think would definitely be probably Jacob.
I was thinking that as well, actually.
Yeah, I think because they have a lot of anonymity, not a lot of the others put a lot of weight on their shoulders, not expected of much, and it's kind of having that comes with a lot of freedom.
Yeah.
And I think after all this time, they still feel that weight of the people on their shoulders.
I like that. And also, Jacob seems like a good follower. Is that something Cat might admire?
No, but because I feel like they follow because that's what they've been taught to, not because they admire me.
Right.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah.
That would be dead on right.
Yeah.
But I would follow like whatever your orders were,
Yeah.
But not through love.
Come from a place of love.
Yeah. Which is what they're used to, being kind of like adored as like a god king.
Oh, little Jacob's brain's going to explode when he figures this out.
Nani?
It could also maybe be the thing. It doesn't have to be that like you admire Jacob in the sense that like they don't idolize you. They follow you anyway, and there's someone who's sort of like a bit more independent. Jacob seems sort of that could be a draw, like that guy doesn't follow me because he loves me, but he still does it anyway.
No, because I feel like that's because they're more pressured, they're more trained to do that rather than anything else.
So it's kind of like a Prince and the Pauper situation.
Yeah, so I definitely think it's the freedom aspect that they kind of have, where either always on me, but they're not really on Jacob literally because they have
I mean, and he'll have seen me just, not look like me. I can look like anyone, which he can't do. He always has, and he's got stalkers and fame and all this sort of stuff.
Pressure, man. It's pressure.
Yeah.
Got to keep up the rat race. All right. Sir Quinn, I think you are our final D20 for the night.
Let's get a good one. Let's go for a night. Have we had a 19?
We have had a 19 roll it again.
Have we had an 18?
We did have an 18. I'll choose
Do
the
you
one
want
close.
to go
I'll
to
just
20? Because we've...
Yeah. You were once in business with one of the, or maybe still are, with one of the members of the coterie.
I think Cat absolutely would have used my services. Spoken to my employers, maybe just to, there was an uprising somewhere, he had a shrine and he needed it tackled with and needed it taken down. So potentially he knows of my group or has dealt with them, but maybe not specifically me. I don't know how loose we can go with that. And he's kind of only something minor, but he sees us as like a plumber or something like that, something he's used to tackle a problem that was beneath him.
Yeah, I definitely like that. I like that kind of working synergy. Also, we've mentioned this before, but my character is they them. It's okay if it doesn't kind of come up and gets done in game, but yeah.
Quick query on that one. When it's you, I'll always be doing they them. Do you want me to ignore that in game? Because it's a concept that before the 40s would have been a stretch for somebody who was like 300, 200,
No.
17th, 18th century, or is that an authority thing?
No, so I think just as players, I've put this in like the chronicle traits as like lines, just kind of respecting that kind of whole veil.
Yep, that's fine.
I think is good.
Sounded good to me. All right, those are our D20 random connections. Now, we can play the game of Never Have I Ever as a vampire.
Get the vodka out.
Or indeed, Never Have I Ever.
I don't want to play this game.
You can. So here's how the game works. I'll say Never Have I Ever, and I give you an example of something that you as a vampire or a human may or may not have done. If you have done it, you can raise your hand or just let us know, and then we might ask you a little bit to elaborate about when that happened of your character, and then you can use it to fill in some details. So let's see. Never have I ever fallen in love. It's a nice one to start off. Have you ever felt the warm embrace of love? Jacob, you felt love.
Oh, sorry, the other way around. Sorry, I've completely got this the wrong way around. Sorry, I haven't done that.
You have never done that.
Yeah,
I think Lillian started to maybe feel like that once when she was younger, for one of the clients, and quickly distanced herself from it. So it's kind of like half raised hand.
Little.
It's funny because me and Jess had played Starcrossed to kind of connect our characters, and one of the things I put for mine on there was love. What was it? It was just like there is no place for love. Can I love one more than the whole people?
Interesting. Cool. Alrighty. This next one then might not work out, but hey, you don't have to be in love to have had a bad breakup before. Something that went messy. Maybe it's another vampire, or maybe it was a human little fling and it just didn't end up well. All right, let's go to Lillian first of all, and then we'll come to Cat.
How many hours have you got?
Right,
Yes.
yeah, okay. Not enough vodka.
I think it's been like a constant rolling cycle of people who were useful to her that she'd hold in her thrall or she'd have in her good graces, who, whether it's because they were, for political reasons, no longer useful, or they just stopped interesting her and she'd just vanish out of their lives. She's essentially ghosted a large proportion of the aristocracy at one time or another.
They don't end up dead, though. They end up sort of largely just never seeing
No,
you again, right?
what's the point in killing them? No,
Okay.
I'm not going to disrupt the status quo.
Goodness.
And somebody
No.
more annoying might rise to power. No.
Okay, to Kat. Tell us about a bad breakup, or maybe you've had several.
So I think the worst kind of breakup they had was, I think, with their sire. Everything was peachy roses, and then it was just like, hey, you're doing shit wrong, you shouldn't do this. And then they tried to kill me, and it pains me ever since.
Interesting. All right, that down. That makes things a little even more sort of heated in that sort of relationship with Inherit then, because it was more at stake. All right, let's see. Oh, this one probably also isn't gonna come up, but we'll see. Never ever had a child in humanity? Yeah, Lillian, the daughter, right?
Yeah. And at the time, it was very much a sort of, you get rid of this thing, I don't care. She tried to cut herself off very cleanly from that, but the lingering shreds of doubt, now that that's her entire legacy, I think she's made her business, her reputation, her legacy, but it still just tickles at the back of her brain sometimes.
Okay, then.
So just I'll throw it. So I've had pages and squires and things like that. Not specifically my own children, but they're probably people that I've thought of and had in that, kind of thought of them as a son that wasn't my own, if you know what I mean, a son or a daughter.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, pages were often given to knights at like really young ages, and then essentially like sold into service.
Yeah, and I've watched them kind of grow up and go on, and I've watched them die.
Yeah,
I actually
Sorry.
I have an idea like from that question about a child, and I had an actual like I sired a child, so but it was maybe like 500 years, like kind of after like I started wondering, and we don't speak because they found out my lineage, and they think that they should rise to be the next great one, and they're like very warmongering.
Wow. So they sort of see themselves as like your like heir / like someone who's going to inherit that power. Yeah. I like that. That is one of the later questions, so keep that in mind as well if anyone else might have sired another vampire at one point. But this one's going to be fun. Never have I ever been arrested. Yeah, that's all of us. Okay. Jacob, was it anything big, or was it just sort of
only as a human, and only as like, you know, pickpocketing and sneak thievery and stuff like that. Never as a vampire.
Okay. What about you, Rahat?
I think it is like what was mentioned, just sort of being persecuted for science and magic and science magic, because that's what science kind of was like at one point in time. Yeah, definitely like been arrested, been chased out of places, and even like from a very young age. I think she was turned quite young.
Yeah. Okay. Yourself, Lillian.
Lillian, I think that was probably how she made a name for herself, because I'll have to check up on the history of the dates of it, but I think raids were still going on into brothels in that era. And I rather like the idea of them being hauled up in front of a judge for being part of a bawdy house, or her being madame of a bawdy house. No, it would have been before that. It would have been when she was still human. And her giving such an eloquent, convincing speech as part of this that it made the papers, and her name became known throughout London as the courtesan with the most impeccable way of carrying herself. And that's how she came to the attention of the other house. That's how she got the highest class of clientele.
Fantastic.
Notorious.
Yes. To Kat, an interesting raised hand. Arrested? What was that like?
Yeah, so I'm thinking that after they kind of left Egypt, they wandered Africa for a while. And I think how they kind of got off of the continent was from like the boats and kind of going to the Americas. So I think kind of that vein of them kind of going from them and then slaughtering other people on the ship and just owning the boat and then just making landfall. It's like, and I'm like, hey, my people, this is our new home.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Quinn, arrested.
Yeah, I think Sir Quinn, so this is post-turning, deliberately got arrested to deal with some kind of loose-lipped thrall or someone that was going to embarrass another one of our clients. So we had to get into prison and kind of maybe a shiv in the shower or something in the holding cell and then get out. So I think it was a deliberate get arrested and get out.
You were in like an old-timey mob movie.
Yeah.
All right. You're like Peaky Blinders, yeah. I like that. Okay. Next question. Never have I ever been rich. Yeah, Lillian's been rich. It's a cat. Yeah. Yeah, okay. Lillian, you were rich, presumably from the brothel. It's a cat if you were a pharaoh, right? You're like, like no
money.
I had a degree of economy going when I was ruling Egypt. I invested my stocks and shares cleverly.
You'd have to be the worst pharaoh ever to be poor.
Yeah. like that's the self-own that doesn't stop, isn't it?
How bad is your gambling habit?
Yeah, like pharaohs are probably the richest, or some of the richest humans who have ever lived. Like that was some crazy wealth disparity going on there. But hey,
I think Lillian values it though, because she knows what it could have been like if it had gone the other way, and she's seen some of the girls who she's had to turn away and say that you can't be part of this house. She knows what that's like, so she very much values the life that she gets to make for herself.
Yeah,
I think with the Quinn there would have been the promise of gentry and owning land and stuff when he got back, but that was kind of all disappeared.
Yeah, you probably had some land, right? Or I imagine there was small pieces, but I imagine it was a very combat heavy time when he was around. So there was always the promise of when you get back and we're in peacetime, you'll have this land, you'll be given this sect, you'll be given this house. Robin of Locksley. Yeah. It's been taken. Okay, I like that. So next question. Never have I ever been famous. Famous little vampire.
I'm just gonna raise my hand for all of you. She's awful.
It's just like real life when you play this game. Rahat, when were you famous? What for?
I don't think like a household name or anything, but just like definitely participated in some discoveries and stuff like that, such that in the little bit of backstory we were creating, Takatatet actually like found Rahat due to her acclaim for her discoveries and stuff like that. But I don't think she would take any value in a name, just like I think in terms of the rich question, she probably has gotten to points in time where she had resources as much as she wanted, but would never value wealth.
Cool. And Lillian, we talked about why you were famous.
I think it's partly that, and it's partly style as well. There was a Victorian courtesan called Skittles who was very well known. Not particularly like beautiful, but would go out riding very publicly in I forget which gardens it was, but went out horse riding in this kind of gown that was so cinched that all the women wondered how on earth she could have been sewn into it, and all the men were wondering if she could be possibly wearing anything underneath it. And I see Lillian very much as that sort of person, that kind of
provocateur type.
Yeah, provocateur, but not deliberately. She's not trying to put the cat among the pigeons. She's just existing and accidentally setting trends.
Not full Lady Godiva?
No, never. They don't get to see me.
And,
Yeah, you pay extra for that.
Yeah, right.
They don't pay for that at all.
We've talked about
Ugh.
Takei, obviously famous. That's, you know, amongst the vampire circles as well, it would seem.
People dress up with me on certain days of the year. You know, it's like
Right. You're just a legend. You just show up. Everyone's like, oh my
You're
god.
like Father Christmas.
People are waiting for you at airports and stuff. You get out of the plane.
calm down.
Meanwhile, the Masquerade violations just rack up.
Hey, I was there before it was designed. I'm used to being worshipped.
I am so sick of the Camarilla telling me what is a fucking Masquerade violation.
These whippersnappers.
You kids with your
Come along
crazy
in the
words.
15th century and whine constantly. God, it's been a bitch for the last 400 years. I can't tell you. Okay, boomer. And
Okay, so next question. Never have I ever made a lair. This one's going to be fun.
Made a lair.
Yeah.
Does that count as any kind of haven?
But like, you know, like super vampire lair, you know, some
Oh.
place that you know, it's a you walk in and you're like, yep, this is a vampire there.
I don't think you can really differentiate that from a dominatrix quarters.
That might be
can you?
true.
Wait, so they're like the back room of a hot topic.
Well, yeah.
Jacob, tell us a little bit about your lair. If it's still there, if it's
no, it's long gone. I went through a period of extreme bitterness after the months of agonizing skin changing. Because obviously Nosferatu go through like 2 months of their like face melting essentially. And
Never
during
has
that
the word
time,
obviously been used more poorly.
yeah.
Obviously,
Anyway.
their skin melts for months.
Obviously, their skin, they're just gross. What? Anyway, went through a sort of vampires are really good serial killers phase. As a sort of a vengeance thing. So I probably had, you know, there will probably be a time when people were, you know, tied with wire to the wall.
makes sense.
It's not sexy,
Raquel,
it's really painful. This is like totally the opposite.
I'm imagining for you, Raquel, there's some kind of like crazy lab that you.
Yeah,
had
no,
or had.
definitely lab. I took in Haven, I took the laboratory, but I also took the creepy tag because I mean, if you're gonna go into that, you might as well go full into that, right? So it's there's definitely like body parts in jars, and there's definitely like she definitely prefers hanging out in like dark corners and underground as much as possible. You know, yeah, exactly. It's very I you know, you feel that the people are gross. I'm gonna stay over here in my dark corner, okay, and just do blood magic science mystery. Who knows?
I like it. Alrighty, let's jump to the next one. Never have I ever ran for office or some kind of political station. Really, any kind of involvement in politics would be qualified for this one. No little politicians amongst us.
I don't get involved. I just steer them.
I mean, I've probably worked for them, but I wouldn't have run for office or anything like that.
I've whipped a lot of them.
Does Takat running a country not count as like entire politics?
Oh, that's not politics. Not when
whole
you're not when you're the god
civilization?
not when you're the god emperor. You don't have to get elected. It wasn't like
That's true.
It wasn't like there was a ballot and then they said he's the one for the job. Oh, he's gonna make Egypt great again, and then it's rubbish after that. Like,
Who's going to
it
vote
didn't
on this?
happen.
Biology.
Yeah, no.
Who thinks we should do this
definitely
thing? Takat? Yeah, I think we should do this. Fine.
Motion passes.
Vote for me.
Oh man. Our god in human form has told us what to do again, I guess.
I suppose we'll just do that then. Is it more being killed? Fantastic.
You want us to build a what, you mental?
God, you've got a bit of an ego on you. What, with your face
you're
on the
right.
front? It's a cat.
Yeah.
What's wrong with you, mate?
Have you been drinking?
I still like the.
You want to
there's
lay
a
off the gold
hieroglyph
body
somewhere
paint. That's
of-
what you want to do. You are
There's a
messing
hieroglyph
yourself up with
somewhere.
that shit. It'll get in your skin. It'll be weird, and they're just like, nah.
No, I
Gold
like-
paint looks sick.
I like there's a
Go
hieroglyph
on.
somewhere of them voting, like they get the one vote. Look, it was a
Yeah.
democracy.
I think it will be me.
Put my name into the hat. Oh, it's my name. I.
The Boris
Alrighty.
Johnson theory of voting.
Hey now. Big Ben, one bomb. Let's see. Next question. Have you, I guess, never have I ever taken part in a war or served in an army? Something like that. Obviously, Sir Quinn's taken part in wars. To Cat sounds like probably numerous wars of ages. Are we talking like Second Inquisition, or is it something in
Yeah. I don't know. I was just thinking probably not on the front lines by any means, but that grudge I mentioned earlier, probably helping for as long after that to fight off.
Okay.
Making up some like pretty gnarly things to fight off invaders.
Yeah. Alrighty, let's jump to our next question. Never have I ever suffered severe injury or illness. I'm talking like you almost died. Maybe you've lost a limb, that kind of deal. Scrape you almost got out of. Almost didn't get out of, rather. No. Yeah. So, Cat, what happened?
I think numerous warring with Lindy's characters across time, just us being crazy people, and then I think the last time I encountered just before I went into torpor, the last time I encountered my sire, I almost died.
I like that. Let's jump to the next one. This is a spicy one. It's very juicy as well. Never have I ever betrayed a friend. Dun, 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 dun. Oh yeah, of course I have. I betray them all the time. Are they really friends if you don't betray them? I saw Jacob and Lillian. So Jacob, who'd you betray? Who's your friend?
What a friend. If I was being paid by somebody else, then that's not really super important. I've probably betrayed numerous people. I've definitely sold their. I don't know how do you count selling someone's secrets as betrayal? Is that betrayal?
Yes, yeah.
Oh, then just constantly from the beginning to the end, like every few weeks.
Betrayal, yeah. Okay. And Lillian, is this to do with your sort of spying stuff?
No, well, kind of. I'd say it was to do with taking that previous house down. I don't think she would count the madame of the house as a friend, but I think she would probably count some of the girls who worked there as acquaintances. I think that's as close as she gets. And that probably weighed a little bit on her at the time. Not for too long, but enough to make her question whether she was doing the right thing.
Yeah. Alrighty. Another interesting one. I'm going to be interested to see who raises a hand for this one. Never have I ever made a sacrifice. Either, I mean, you could take this literally like a human sacrifice, or is it you've sacrificed something or a part of yourself, or maybe, I don't know, you put yourself in danger for someone else. Yeah. For a cat, was that a yes from Rat? I mean, it was
just when you said human sacrifice, I was like, yeah, sure, that one. That's let's do that one. We need those, you know.
Yep.
Look, man, pancreases aren't. You can't get them from Tesco's.
Exactly. You know, if they didn't make it so hard to get, components for blood magic, then I wouldn't need to do it all the time. It's their own fault, really. So.
Yes, that feels like their fault. Good argument, solid rhetoric.
What about you, Takat?
What was the question again? Sorry.
Oh, made a sacrifice. I'm gonna put it first or two.
So yeah, I definitely think there was ritualistic sacrificing, and apart from that, they definitely made a sacrifice when they chose to step down from the eternal throne, which is what I kind of calling it. When their like people and like their dynasty at that time was being threatened, and they chose to step down rather than have everyone die.
Interesting. Cool. And Quinn, I think I saw a little raise hand there.
Yeah, so he would have led swaves of men as a mortal to their deaths and kind of seen people that he trained with and respected. But I imagine, especially kind of in the early years after he was turned, there would have been a fair amount of thralls and mortals that maybe he made the mistake of bonding with and making friends with, that they were just seen as pawns and like just watch them die on missions that there was no way that a mortal could succeed on. And I think that's kind of hardened him a little bit, and he kind of tends to stay away from some of the mortals because of it.
Okay. All right, let's head to a last couple of questions. We touched on this one with the cat, but never have I ever sired another vampire. These little baby vampires out there that you've made.
Yuck. They sound messy.
Yeah. Sounds like it does get messy, especially if you've heard the cat story. That was didn't turn out great, but okay, it could happen in the future. Never say never. This one's also fun. Never have I ever killed another vampire. An act, diablery. Yes.
Oh no, actually, fuck it. Yeah, why not? Hell with it.
Yeah. Okay, Jacob, who'd you kill?
I would have been sent to like cowardly kill multiple vampires, not in a face-to-face kind of a way, and it's hardly likely that I would have like in the later parts of my life turned away from drawing blood from them if there was some sort of additional power to be garnered. Plus I learn everything about them with that mechanism.
Yes, it's true. Rahat.
I once again, I just think for entirely practical usefulness reasons.
Sorry, I just love the fact that all of yours start with, it's a really logical thing that you just can't get angry. Nobody supplies women's wombs. You can't get a virgin on tap. And it's not because I wanted them dead. Okay, look,
no,
shut up. No,
it's not personal. It's not personal, just sometimes you need blood and body parts and things.
Have you ever heard of a fucking blood bank, by the way? Seriously, the amount of people that have died, and if you'd just gone through Yellow Pages, you could have solved this problem overnight.
You could have maybe hit me up. I could have supplied you with an awful lot of everything.
Oh yes, and in recent memory, I'm sure less so, honestly. That's why we have the crematorium now, and we have like Lillian's terrible asshole clients that are garbage and they don't need their own blood. So
they actually pay me to take it.
You're really progressive vampires here. I like that. Okay, Rahat for science, as ever. To cats, who'd you kill?
I mean, as I said back in my day before the Camarilla, we had lots of upstarts trying to redo the map and take over and stuff. So I think that kind of blood sacrifice and kind of consumption of one's soul was just another step of becoming a kind of god on Earth. And I don't think they ever kind of stopped, if not like consuming souls, just killing other kindred if they get in the way.
Yeah. And
I mean, the diablery part for me would entirely have been the, discovering things that people keep hidden no matter what aspect, and it wouldn't have been like everybody.
Yeah.
Only if they weren't going to find out.
Sure. So Quinn, who'd you kill?
So I imagine there's a few figures that became so much of a problem that we were kind of tasked with taking out. I don't want to twist lore too much. Can we say that like Archduke Franz Ferdinand was like a
Fucking hell,
vampire. We were involved in taking him out or something like. There's definitely.
Did you shoot him in some way?
But potentially like twisted a little bit. But there's a few figures in history that probably the humans think were just normal people killed, but people were killed because they were vampires and because they were doing things that needed to be taken care of under various people's orders. Doesn't necessarily have to be that one. That was just one that came to mind.
Did you start any big wars? Were you not so hungry in like 1912-ish? You're around there. Oh, sorry about the trench thing, but at least we'll have the body up. At least we'll have the body parts for like the next 3 weeks at least.
Just really hungry. Didn't mean to cause any of this. Okay, cool. And then, final question for the night, because we've been here doing this for a little while now. Never have I ever made a mistake I'll always regret. Or just do regret. Yeah. Let's hear it all here. Oh, yeah, terrible mistakes. I saw your hand go up first, buddy, so tell us all.
So this is in like the little backstory that I kind of made with Rahat and our like over kind of bonding game, and it was when they were helping me with my problem, it was leaving and not staying to stare at the stars.
I like that. Let's see, Rahat.
I mean, I feel like she's probably made some bad stuff that like went into the wrong hands. And I feel like that always happens. If you've had hundreds of years within which to like create things, you've created something terrible. I'm not sure what it is
like
yet,
Mengele
but
that's had 700 years to get it right. Like
it's a hamster, but it's got the legs of a giraffe. It's just
the dodo is actually extinct because of me. That's my fault.
You invented smallpox.
the Fury fucking hate you.
I cured something, but in the meantime, I created something worse. Definitely happened at some point.
The other scientists call you Chimera.
Flying ants.
Yeah.
You invented flying ants.
Oh,
they were the thing. Yeah.
Oh, in that case, it's diablery all round. Episode 1, everyone killed Rahat.
Or wait, maybe wasps were peaceful, and then you messed around with their DNA.
No.
Yeah.
Wasps were like ladybirds, weren't they, in the like 12th century? Jesus.
They were,
fuck.
yeah. Sweet little things. Yeah, no. I'm not gonna, I almost was like, Rat invented mosquitoes, but no, that's too terrible. Like, it's the worst crime of all. I could never,
Oh, I don't
can't
know.
do it.
Like, AIDS would probably be worse. I feel like I can think of worse than mosquitoes without much.
I don't think anything's killed more people than mosquitoes, right? Like
Yeah, because they spread illness and they're terrible.
It does fit with the vampiric thing.
Why don't you just go with the
I was gonna
common
say,
cold?
Charlie pointed out in
Like,
chat that
just-
like a
just-
vampire invented vampire bugs. Basically, that's pretty funny.
Don't hold back. Just invent fucking, the common cold in like 4
Oh, oh, that's awful. Yes.
Yeah, there was no common cold.
I thought it would be quite good for killing this one old person, but unfortunately it spread to everyone in the world.
And
it's not deathly in most cases. It's just really annoying all the time.
I tied up every mobile phone network in London at lunchtime.
You're the reason companies have a fucking monopoly. You are Comcast.
You invented privatized medical care in America. Got it. I win.
Farmer.
I refuse that. As a Canadian, I refuse that one. Absolutely not.
I found the worst one. It's okay. It doesn't get worse than this.
Well, Jake,
how much to give birth? £20,000? Thank you.
Yeah, right.
Is this better or worse than puppy killing? Just so I know what the
puppy
line
killing
is.
is fine. The puppy killing is
Okay.
nothing. Don't worry about it.
So there's like children, puppies, healthcare.
Don't stress about the puppy thing. The puppy will live. Olive will live.
Olive, somewhere around here.
Jacob,
what's your mistake, my friend, that you regret?
I let my sire die because it was still early on and I didn't like him. at all. So when people came to kill him, I left and watched them burn the building down from across the street.
Wow.
And I now feel
All
bad
right.
about it. I'm less of an emo edgelord vampire now.
Yeah, good for you.
Stop self-harming. I don't like give myself Chinese burns in the shower anymore. It's fine.
Stop listening to my Chemical Romance so much.
Yeah, I skipped the Black Parade completely. That place was a dump.
That was the only good one, damn it.
It's the only fucking My Chemical Romance song I fucking know. I'm sure they have others.
It's 2012. Are they about to break up? I don't know.
Oh, it's 2012. The Olympics is happening. That's bad enough.
Why was it? Is the Olympics a bad thing? Is it?
Well, like, there's a lot of twats
Suggestion.
around.
Oh, that's England.
Have you ever been to
Yeah.
London before?
Yeah.
That's
I
where
like
they
London.
are.
What's-
Not during the Olympics, it was garbage. But I liked it the rest of the time.
I unconditionally despise London, but Lillian, what's your mistake?
I think Lillian is plagued with not so much like a single mistake, but lots of things where she could see the path going two ways and she wonders whether she made the right decision. So whether it's political, whether it's choices in like backing away from love, anything that makes her feel weak instantly makes her put a wall up. So I think the little what ifs involved in that plague her. The daughter thing is the only absolute concrete one, but there are lots of them scattered about. Just that little echo of humanity.
Mm-hmm. And so Quinn, I saw a tentative hand there, I think.
Yeah, he regrets the day he stayed his blade and didn't try and swing for his sire before he got turned, meaning he would have been died and never got messed up in this horrible unlife.
Okay, yeah.
So lots of
So
My
you sort of
Chemical Romance stuff, and what you? Yeah, he regrets the whole thing. He's kind of in it now, and
I mean, when you were a young boy, I mean, your father.
My father.
it's not okay, Jacob. It's not okay.
Did he take you to the city in some manner?
I don't know.
Potentially
Teenagers
to
scare
walk
the
in
shit
some
out of me. I
bullshit
don't know any more My
teenage
Chemical
wank
Romance
dance.
songs.
I don't know.
Is Gerard Way your father? That's the real question.
In a way, isn't Gerard Way all of our fathers?
I mean,
No.
he's my daddy.
Literally no way. Like, no.
Very real way.
He's not even the father to the children he might actually potentially have. I don't even know. Does he have children? Did he find a woman? Oh,
Pretty
God.
sure that's just libel or slander, one of the two.
Oh man. Well, I'm making a comeback, so we better watch out now. Copyright strikes. But man, that I think wraps it up on our Never Have I Ever, and that will wrap up our little session 0 for tonight. For session 0 of Fall of London, our new chronicle that we're going to be playing here every week, Tuesdays, 4 p.m. Eastern, live here on Encounter Roleplay. We're joined at the hashtag Family. If you haven't yet checked out Vampire the Masquerade 5th edition, maybe you've enjoyed watching us creating characters, maybe you want to take this to your home group, or maybe you just want to read up on it and check out all the cool rules and the lore of Vampire the Masquerade's been around for a long time. 5th edition is pretty good and recent addition to the lineup. So if you do !FOL, you'll see Fall of London, which is the chapter that we're going to be playing through London 2012, right amidst a new sort of Inquisition, and also with all of these crazy characters running around London who have no idea what's going on in modern life, who are going to be getting up to absolutely no good. Oh, and Lindy will be back with us next week, and she's playing a crazy vampire Viking, living in London.
She's the only one of us
so-
who's legitimately crazy.
Yeah, right, yeah. So what could go wrong there? I hear you cry. Well, pretty much everything. So we're going to be heading into the real first session next week. We hope you guys can join us. If you're on YouTube, drop a like, you can drop a comment. Next week, we're also going to have all this beautiful artwork in as well, so you can actually see what some of these characters look like. But hopefully you've had a chance to get to know them a little bit better and get ready for the hijinks for next week. But definitely another big thank you to our sponsors over at Mithras Entertainment. Check out Fall of London. It's a great little setting guide and a great little adventure to play through, and I can't wait to get started next week. But let's go around the cast and the crew. Did we enjoy ourselves tonight? Where can we find you online? Feel free to tell us about your various projects and things that you're up to at the moment. Let's start with Adam. Adam.
Yeah, I'm Call of Cthulhu on Twitch. I stream horror games full-time Monday to Saturday. You can find me under Call of Cthulhu or Fall of Cthulhu on Twitter if that floats your boat. I'm on every day at 1 o'clock GMT.
Fantastic stuff. And Jess.
Oh, hi, I'm Jess. You can find me at go_JG in most places. I stream a mix of video games and TTRPGs. We have a lot of indie stuff coming up. Blades in the Dark, Girl Underground, Masquerade. I usually skew more cute, which is why Charlie called me out for... I'm excited to get to be evil in this, so... Haha. Yeah.
Yeah, they have a half live. I like it. Great stuff. Amelia, same questions for you.
Hello, I'm Amelia Tyler. I'm a voice actor for video games, so I can't talk about what I'm up to at the moment because NDAs, as ever. I haven't streamed on Twitch for a little while because things have been a little bit crazy. Hopefully I should be able to talk about that more soon. But I am on here on Twitch. I'm hoping to stream a bit more coming up soon. You can find me under Amelia Tyler over on Twitter. And I will be back here on Encounter Roleplay on Monday, where I am doing the Crownlands Game of Thronesy show. We had our first session of that yesterday, and it was so much fun. And yeah, Lillian's going to be very different to my character in that, because my character in that is so nice. She's painfully nice.
Fantastic. I love it. Pro, where can we find you?
Hey, yeah, super fun. I love everyone's characters. I'm hyped for next week. I am Pro Restarter. You can catch me on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram, all under the same name. I haven't been streaming much on my channel due to some real life stuff, but coming soon, you'll see me on a few other people's channels and some other projects coming up. So keep an eye on my Twitter for that.
Love it. And last and most least, Gareth.
Wait. After about... Yeah, I usually get that. My 5
like
years?
the second time he'd used the most least thing this cast. I'd actually file with the union if I were you.
Oh no, I haven't got a union. No, he doesn't let me have any of that.
I meant Charlie. That's the
union.
Okay.
That's right.
Fair enough. So after 5 years, I've actually got something to plug. So I am now a member of. Did someone giggle at the word plug? No. I am now a member of a actual play role play podcast. It's called the Murder Hobros. You can find us on @MurderHobros on Twitter. It's just a bunch of my friends. Don't expect massive production quality critical role stuff. It's just a bunch of guys playing together, having some fun. We're playing D&D 5e. We're playing. I've completely blanked. What's the system? Really awesome. Superhero thing?
Masks?
No.
City of Mist?
There we go. City of Mist. I'm absolutely useless at plugging things. Yeah, City of Mist, we're playing through that as well. We steal a blimp. It's amazing. Check us out. Thank you.
Fantastic stuff. And if you want to follow what I'm up to, you can follow @EncounterRP and all the stuff that our network is up to. This is our new season has launched, so you've got all new shows on the channel this and next week as well. Tomorrow, we have the premiere of some Zweihander action, so go and check that out tomorrow. And later on tonight, I'm also the Twitch director over at twitch.tv/Cobalt Press. Go follow us over there, because tonight at 8 o'clock Eastern, we are back live with World Tree Burns. With a fantastic crew over there with Mr. Dan Dillon in the DMC. We're exploring the world of Midgard and having a fantastic time getting drunk doing so. So come and join us later on tonight in about an hour and a half time for that. But yeah, check out the channel. Oh, if you haven't followed Encounter Roleplay, go ahead and hit the follow button as well while you're here. Why not? And if you haven't checked out the YouTube channel, all of our VODs go over there. So youtube.com/Encounter Roleplay. And if you missed this and any other episodes of Vampire the Masquerade, they'll all be up there on the channel for you guys to take a watch back. And we love reading your comments as well. That's something we should note. Last season on Call of Cthulhu, we loved to read all the comments that you guys were dropping there for us. So if you have suggestions, thoughts, ideas, comments, and whatnot, then let us know. And they keep us going, and they're really, really fun. So that's all from me, folks. I'm going to head off with the rest of the crew back to our little coven and get up to no good with vampires next week. We'll see you here, same time, 4 o'clock Eastern every Tuesday. #family for Fall of London. Until next time, my friends, try not to roll too many net ones. You want to be laughing when you do. Good night, everybody. Bye.
That's how you go out.
I've been doing that since I've started streaming. That's everything I've ever been on.
Just all about the wrist.
Just like.